After the miraculous fall of Jericho, the Israelites continued to take the cities that God had promised them. When the time came for Joshua to die, he gathered the tribes of Israel and said, "This is what the Lord God of Israel says. I brought you into the land of your enemies and delivered them into your hands. I gave you land you did not work and cities you did not build. Now, fear the Lord your God, serve him with all your heart, and walk in his truth. You must throw away the foreign gods among you and yield your hearts to him, for he is a jealous God and will leave you if you continue to serve other gods." When the people of Israel heard this, they all quickly said, "We will serve the Lord our God and obey him." But once again, as soon as Joshua died, a new generation grew up that did not know God and began to serve the gods of those that lived around them. They worshipped idols and brought evil into their lives. God became very angry with his chosen and beloved people, and his presence no longer went with them to defeat their enemies. They were crushed by their enemies every time and would cry out to God for help and deliverance. Each and every time, God would send them a deliverer to rescue them from their enemies. A nation of people called the Midianites began to oppress the Israelites. They took all their cattle and livestock and trampled all the crops they planted. The Israelites cried out to God in great distress. God heard their cries and sent an angel of the Lord to a man named Gideon. The angel said, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." But Gideon answered, "Sir, if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us?" The Lord looked at him and said, "Go in the might and strength I have given you, and save Israel from the hand of the Midianites." But Gideon said, "How can I save Israel, my Lord? My tribe is the weakest, and I am the youngest in my family." The Lord answered, "I will surely be with you, and you will strike down the Midianites as one man." Even though Gideon loved and served God, he wanted a sign from God to prove that he was calling him to deliver the Israelites from the Midianites. So Gideon said to God, "If you will save Israel by my hand, as you promised, I will place a fleece of wool outside on the ground, and if it is wet with dew in the morning, and all around it the ground is dry, then I will know that you will save Israel by my hand, as you have said." Early the next morning, Gideon checked the fleece and wrung out a bowl full of water, while the rest of the ground was dry. Then Gideon said to God, "Please, do not be angry with me, but give me one more test with the fleece of wool. At this time, make the fleece dry and the ground around it wet in the morning." And that is exactly what God did for Gideon, to prove that he would use him to rescue the Israelites by his own hand. Gideon soon gathered 32,000 warriors to go and attack the Midianites. But God spoke to Gideon and said, "You have too many warriors, and I do not want the Israelites to think they brought victory by their own hand." God then commanded Gideon, "Announce to the Israelites, anyone who is fearful and afraid, you may leave and return to your families." That day, 22,000 warriors left, and 10,000 remained. God spoke again to Gideon. "There are still too many men. Go down to the water and watch how the men drink. Separate the ones who lap like a dog from their hands, and those that kneel down and drink the water with their mouths." 300 men lapped water from their hands, and all the rest kneeled down to drink with their mouths. God then said to Gideon, "I will save you with the 300 men that lapped water from their hands and give the Midianites into your hand. Send the rest of your warriors home to their families." The camp where the Midianites had gathered to attack Israel was in a valley below Gideon and his 300 warriors. During the night, the Lord said to Gideon, "Get up and go down against the camp, because I am going to give it into your hands. But if you are afraid to attack, then take a servant down to their camp to hear what they are saying, and this will give you courage to attack them." Gideon and his servant snuck close to the camp of the Midianites just in time to hear one of their warriors telling his friend, "I had a dream last night that a round loaf of bread came tumbling into our camp and struck a tent with such force that the tent overturned and collapsed." This frightened his friend, and he replied, "It means nothing. Other than the sword of Gideon the Israelite, God has given the Midianites and the whole camp into the hand of Gideon." When Gideon heard what the two men were saying, he left and worshipped and thanked God for giving him the confidence to attack the Midianites. When Gideon returned to the camp of Israel, he said, "Get up! The Lord has given the Midianites into your hands." Gideon separated the 300 men into 3 groups of 100. He placed empty jars with torches inside them into their hands. Then he instructed them, "Follow my lead. When I get to the edge of the camp, do exactly as I do. When I and all who are with me blow our trumpets, you will do the same and shout, 'For the Lord and for Gideon.' Then smash the jars on the ground while you hold your trumpet in your right hand and your torches in your left hand." All 3 groups surrounded the camp and waited for the sound of the trumpets. Suddenly, Gideon and his group of 100 blew their trumpets and smashed their jars on the ground. The other 200 did the same, creating a terrifying sound in the middle of the night. The Midianite soldiers jumped up, crying out as they ran into the darkness of the night. They were so frightened that they began fighting each other with their swords, killing each other within the camp. Gideon and his army of 300 quickly chased after the Midianite warriors. Many of the surrounding tribes of Israel soon came to help pursue the Midianites. That day, 120,000 Midianite warriors died by the swords of Gideon and his 300. During Gideon's lifetime, the land enjoyed peace from their enemies, and the Israelites turned their hearts back to God.